What is up? Welcome to the pod. So, I've noticed recently that a lot of folks are talking about how food products in America compare to the rest of the world. And I came across an article written by an individual on this topic with a pretty big following. She has 1.7 million followers on Instagram and a very popular blog. And this article was highlighting the differences between food products in the US compared to the same products in the UK. And there were 6 specific items mentioned, and each item had a list of the ingredients in the US version side by side with a list of ingredients in the UK version. The first item was McDonald's French fries, and it turns out that there are more ingredients, preservatives, additives, etc. in McDonald's French fries in the US compared with the UK. The same comparison was drawn for Quaker strawberries and cream instant oatmeal packets, Mountain Dew, Heinz ketchup, Doritos, and Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Now, I saw folks in the health industry reposting this article talking about how we should be disturbed by these differences and how the US is all about profit and they don't care about their population and on and on and on. In my opinion, all of these folks are completely missing the point, because the question that I have is, why are people, especially in the health industry, focusing on how there are a few extra ingredients in things like McDonald's French fries, Mountain Dew, and Doritos in the US versus the UK? Is it because they're recommending these products to people? These foods, which is generous to even call them that, should be consumed so infrequently that a few extra shitty ingredients in an already shitty product ultimately shouldn't really move the needle in the big scheme of things. And if it does, it's because they're being eaten way too often. Now, I totally get when folks say, well, but why add the additional stuff to the US versions? And I agree in a sense. However, this is still missing the forest for the trees, because these are all heavily processed, hyper-palatable foods that aren't meant to be eaten consistently anyway. If they were adding additional ingredients to single ingredient whole foods, I would be disturbed. For example, if the meat, fish, seafood, eggs, dairy, fruit, veg, etc. had added funky ingredients and additives, that would be terrible. But they're talking about a little bit more bullshit in bullshit foods to begin with. It's like, oh my God, guys, can you believe this? They are adding corn syrup, preservatives, and food dyes to your Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. As if it's not cereal to begin with. What are we even talking about here? It's sort of like thinking that opting for gluten-free Oreos over regular Oreos is really going to impact your health in a significant way. They're still Oreos. The whole point of this episode is to stay focused on what actually matters, which is eating the vast majority of your food as single ingredient whole foods and not missing the forest for the trees, in the sense that a few extra ingredients or additives in something like Doritos isn't a big deal, because A, it's a Dorito, and B, these foods shouldn't be consumed often enough for it to make a difference in your health. Once in a while, enjoy some McDonald's fries or some chips. It's not going to impact your health to a drastic degree if it's an irregular thing. And if you want to eat foods similar to the 6 listed on a regular basis, here is how I'd recommend consuming them. Instead of McDonald's French fries, go get some potatoes, sweet potatoes or yams from the grocery store, slice them up, add some salt, and bake them yourself. And you've got some healthy, single ingredient, whole food fries. If you'd like strawberries and cream flavored instant oatmeal, pick up some plain instant oats, cook them up, and add some actual strawberries. You can even toss in some coconut milk as the liquid for a more creamy texture. If you want Mountain Dew, there are a whole bunch of 0-calorie pop options out there that have 0 grams of sugar. And yes, they have a few calorie-free sweeteners in them. However, the research points towards calorie-free sweeteners being totally fine in small amounts. And they're certainly miles ahead of ingesting 40 to 50 grams of pure liquid sugar. Personally, I really like Zevia, which is a stevia-flavored 0-calorie pop option with a bunch of different flavors to choose from. Regular water or sparkling water is always on the table too. If you want ketchup, there are plenty of reduced sugar versions and also just other condiments, like various types of mustard and hot sauce that are essentially calorie-free and quote-unquote cleaner. As for Doritos, I guess you could pick up some 100% corn chips and melt some cheese on them, but no matter how you spin it, chips are just not a fat loss or health-friendly option. If I'm going to eat chips, I go for chicharrones or pork rinds, where the only ingredients are pork and salt. Frosted Flakes are kind of similar to the Doritos. There aren't really alternatives just because cereal is essentially just straight up dessert, being that it's almost all pure sugar. I'd recommend oats or something like cream of rice instead. So big picture, don't let articles like this let you think that a few extra ingredients, preservatives, or additives in these extremely processed food products is the primary problem, because it is not. The problem are the products themselves as a whole. So, focus on eating single ingredient whole foods. And the best part of this strategy is that you don't even have to think about preservatives, additives, or extra funky ingredients. In fact, you don't even really need to be able to read a calorie or ingredient label because the vast majority of single ingredient whole foods don't require labels. They don't come in packages. They don't have barcodes. They just are what they are, which is exactly the way that Mother Nature intended us to eat. If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. If you're finding this info helpful and you'd like to, feel free to leave the pod a review on your favorite podcast platform. And you can follow me on Instagram at N1Fitness, on TikTok at the N1Fitness, and on YouTube at MarcusSadu/N1Fitness. If you'd like to stay up to date on the newest episode releases, you can hit the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya!